So welcome to the Vampire meeting. I'm Trine, the director and producer of the Real Vampires video game.
And I'm Sandra. I'm a 2D/3D artist on the video game.
My name is Benjamin Hannah-Webb. I'm a 3D modeler and a rigger and animator of the project.
And I'm Clara. I did lots of visual stuff, 2D generalist stuff, I would say.
And over there we have Michael. Can you say hello, Michael?
Yeah.
And on screen from Warsaw.
Hi, I'm Julia, and I'm an art director for the game.
Cool. It's all based on this book with Stake and Spade, and it's actually the author Łukasz Kozak who collected all these hundreds of stories that we're using in the game.
Hello, my name is Łukasz Kozak. I grew up in Poland, very close to Ukraine. I study history and have found this document, which seems to be the first known Polish historical record with reference to a procedure of incapacitating a presumed upure. By the way, upure is more or less the same as vampire.
And Julia, you illustrated it. So we just took a lot of inspiration, if not like using directly your artwork. And I think if you remember this one with the woman with the child, and you had this cool idea of showing the vampire just as an orange cutout layer, and we kind of used that for through the whole game. And it was also the inspiration to the gameplay as well. That you play during day as common folk, and then you, if you fail, then you change into a vampire, but you're still like the same character. And it makes me feel, because I think it's so beautiful in a way that we are all the monsters and the human being at the same time, but maybe a little bit more during day or during night. And actually through working on the game, I've realized that it's more cruel during daytime.
Yeah.
So maybe we are scared at night, but actually it's pretty cruel during day.
Yeah. And the villagers are like the common folk that are not vampires are more brutal in most cases than the vampires. The teeth level, when I played the game, the first time I played the game, it was like, I think the one that made me feel the most uncomfortable.
Really?
Like, it was so uncomfortable to play. It was like, ooh, I don't want to pull out the teeth. Poor child.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's even like the back end. It's like you get desensitized to it when you're like working on the game. It's like, okay, you kind of stop feeling it. Like, okay, I can chop off the testicles, no worries. Like, I can blunt the teeth. I don't mind. I can hit his head with a hammer.
Yeah.
Okay, but like the first time you play it, it's terrible in like a good way. It's like making you feel really icky.
Yeah, no, I hate teeth stuff. So that like the testicle chopping off was funny. I'm like, got you, ass, got him. But like the teeth, I'm like,
That's funny, because that's really true how you get desensitized from it. Because I was just, I was laying in bed with my iPad drawing.
Blood and like the baby.
This one,
This is like, no, it's still kind of bad.
yeah.
And then we also have the cows, of course. I mean, what would we do without the animals in the game as well?
What would we do without the animals?
The talking dog,
This one.
for instance. Okay.
Talking dog.
The historian Lucas' own dog. You have a dog as well, Julia, and me too.
Yes,
So it's become like an important part of the game as well to communicate some of the storytelling through the animals. which I really enjoyed working on that part as well.
Yeah, Upir is somehow connected to this outcast figure, to some kind of shamanism, animism. In the beginning, it meant something like sorcerer, shaman, a Slavic figure of a person who has superpowers.
Yeah, I like the cows as well. The cow tails are great. It was hard to build this. We had huge problem with doing that, but finally it looks nice, and it's like challenging scene in a hard mode. I like it. I like to play it.
I really like the night and day system because it's a good way of like punishing without being punishing, if it makes sense. Because like a lot of times you would like, oh, I really like the day version of this level. You want to beat the day version of, oh my god, of a level.
Also very evil of us to have you talk while you're doing it.
Nah, I'm a professional.
Okay.
Oh shit, alright, speedrun, 80% real vampires. Let's go.
I think it was an easy mode, but
yeah, put it on hard mode. No. But no, I really like. Yesterday when I was playing with my girlfriends, I would lose on purpose because I was like, I can beat the night version of this level. I want to beat the night version or the day versions. So it's a good incentive, and it still feels like I lose, but it's not like oh man, now I have to start over, or like I feel like it's a very smart way and a like interesting and fun gameplay loop to just switch between the modes every time you quote unquote lose, or you do lose, but
But you don't have to start over.
Yeah.
Or you don't lose like points and stuff.
Exactly. And it's just such a fun way to like play from each side of like the story. Like you switch up your mindset, and so many times we would lose, or you, like me and my girlfriend, because we heard the text in the beginning, we were like, okay, so we have to do that. But then we were in the vampire, like the night cycle. And then we would do like the exact opposite, because we were like, we were thinking as the humans and peasants, like, of course we have to put the bread, like blood on the bread, and we were like, oh shit, we had to avoid it.
So do you use the text as a hint?
Yeah, I would like, I'm not really good at reading, so I would just listen. But I would like listen to really like soak the blood. They used to soak the blood as a like remedy. I don't remember the exact text, but then I was like, soak the blood, and then I lost instantly. I was like, oh my god, I'm a dumbass. That would happen a lot, and that adds like a funny like psychological difficulty, like it's on my brain.
Blood gushes forth in substantial quantity and is collected, mixed with flour, then kneaded and made into bread. That is a reliable remedy to protect against such terrible torment.
Yeah. Also, he's cute. The deer.
The deer. Who did the deer? I
think he's scary.
Are
you scared of the deer?
He's off canny, like with those eyes. Cause
wait,
those
eyes.
Wait, hold up. Name drop. I thought like
he heard you.
He's coming after me.
Watch out.
Nah, but I like with the other characters, it gives more a cute vibe, but it plays a lot with the off canny scariness for me. A lot of times, like because they had at some point we have the choir. Boys or girls, the babies singing, and they're cute, but they're also kind of scary. And I feel like with the deer, I'm like, stay away. Also with the story added that it might be a blood-sucking demon vampire creature. Doesn't help.
That's the level through the forest, right? I actually think that's one of the most scenic, beautiful levels in the game. I've always loved that one, running through the forest and like the guys trying to like stalk you, and I can't remember the day version, but I remember the night, or the opposite way. One of them I don't remember, but I remember you being the deer, or you having to protect the deer.
Yeah, that's the night version.
This is the night version.
You can try to play it.
Let's play it. It's a word from Yannick, mostly. I think.
Yeah, I really like that. Also the sound effects, again. I really like that that little sound that they make when they spawn. But yeah, very interesting and different from the other levels, since this
Oh my god.
I was busy talking.
No, that's still.
But it's very different from the other levels because the other levels kind of have like this very emphasized collage vibe about them, whereas this one is a full screen picture that like runs along the whole level, or you kind of like a panoramic kind of slide. So it's very different from the other ones.
Show off this wonderful new thing we added. Go in here, and then you can click on that.
Okay.
These are the achievements, right? Like if you do all of it in like a perfect peasant mode.
Yeah.
That would be perfect for you.
Peasant.
You'd be perfect peasant.
Perfect peasant. Yeah. Because it's so like so many, like you can play hard, you can play relaxed, you can play normal, and then you can play the day and the night version of each level. So we thought it would be like a nice idea to have like something that makes the player want to replay or like play the other version of the level that they'd already played. So we kind of added this in-game achievement system that we've called like badges. So you get like a little extra reward for being extra throughout and how you play the game. And then obviously we have like the achievements on like Steam or like Play Store or App Store.
All intros and outros are great. It's like, Michael did great animation, but it's like, very interesting, and all of the elements are like nice, and composition and the world, and Łukasz, which is like new person each time. So the intros, outros are also great.
Yeah. I think my favorite moment in the game is actually one of the outros, where it feels very dramatic in the end, and you've like reached the end of all of these levels, and you get to like just see everything kind of go crazy a little bit.
The past is wild. Not just like another continent, it's like exploring another planet with many dangerous and lovely beings surrounding you.
And it just feels, I don't know, I animated this, so it's also like I'm a little bit tired of it. But and I also think this was like one of the things that were most fun to animate, because it was kind of a very feel-good moment in a way.
Do you remember Benjamin animating Kozak, the main character?
I remember doing the talk animation, and I remember, I don't know, I was just supposed to make like a simple talk animation. I made it way too long and way too complicated. We were like, oh dang, this can't really loop. It won't work for all of the dialogue, but I guess it ended up working out in the end because we used it for all of the dialogue mainly. But I just thought I was making some temporary, and then Mikael would come and fix it up later on. But I do remember it. It was a fun job. It was very hard trying to make a talk animation without actually being able to move any of the lips. So I just had to make like the body gestures and stuff like that. And like, maybe just a flow. But yeah.
So how did you animate it? Did you look at other people, or did you find it in yourself?
I did do a lot of like, how would I move if I was like a 2D puppet? So I did trying to be like very cartoony Disney character. I don't know, like over animated. Then I like, okay, now what if I did it from the like side? If I was like, imagine like doing a pitch at like my PowerPoint is over here. I'm like, oh, yes, this is. I think that helped me a lot. So I just kind of visualized it, and I normally do like the actions with my own body if I struggle. If I need to figure out like how would this look, and I'm cartoony as hell, so I guess that it translates well. But it was fun.
You're acting.
You're acting. I'm an actor. No, but yeah, it was a good time, and also making the rig was fun. So I mean, that's also, I kind of knew how the rig worked since I made it myself, so that's always easier to animate on. something you know exactly how functions, which made it harder for Michael.
It's behind the camera.
So it's very different to rig a 2D character.
Yeah, definitely. I did like the challenge. It was easier than I thought because our rig is kind of built up like a physical puppet would, like with layers. So if like this joint would be on top of this joint, so it was like, okay, I don't have to think of like any clipping like that because this will just be behind this and this will just be in front of this. So it was like making a sprallement.
It's actually like this
like
one?
this.
Yeah, exactly. It was just built like that in the.
You pull a little bit.
Yeah, it was just like making a little sprallement, but in 3D. So I was new in Blender when I made it, so I didn't have so much experience with Blender, but the mindset of modeling it in layers and just like, okay, the arm just have to be a little further back and then we're good, was fun. And then again, weird, because I've only rigged 3D characters before, so rigging a 2D character was a new challenge.
Yeah.
But in many ways, way easier, because you don't have to think of too many angles. It has to look good in.
Yeah, it was really crazy to join the project kind of later on, and then you look at all the characters like, okay, yeah, this is just 2D, right?
Mm.
You know, in Unity you can work in like the 2D view or you can work in the 3D view. So I would just be working in the 2D view and I couldn't figure out why the hammer that I gave Kozak would just not be behind his hand. Like it was always on top of his hand or like something stupid. And then I would realize, wait, it's actually like kind of 3D.
Yeah.
we gotta like change the view and then like move the hammer up in front or like behind or whatever the situation was. So it was like, you know, it works.
Yeah.
You know, it feels like it's 2D. Even though it's not.
And Clara, you actually made
this was
design
Emily
together with Julia, right? The wild child you're talking about that kind of was born during the production.
I love it. The wild child is great. Love it. With the cakes,
baby.
Very cute.
Did it change anything for you, Julia, to see your kind of style evolving into all these like weird situations and new characters and animals with the vampire teeth and a lot of stuff, weird stuff going on?
Yeah, it was actually very nice, and the more we worked on it and created more stuff and more like this wild child or new elements in the game, I think it's also owing to Clara and Emily. They did so many things, so this like my style and those things evolved in a like much better way also. So the wild child and other things like that, but also the day and night intros, like day and night modes. Each level had different stuff and everything was really beautiful. So it's like it evolved in a good way, in even better way. And also if we had like much complex scenes, still it was like really nicely, perfectly done. So good job. So it was like fun to see how like few illustrations from the book evolved in the whole universe of this game. So it was really nice to see. So very proud.
It was great to work on, and it was obvious, like it's not a style that I'm personally very used to working in, at least when I joined. So it was like getting used to working with it and like finding the balance between like the collage elements that like some of them are very, very detailed, and then like also keeping it like simple and having the compositions work. And then also at the same time like going through, like as I said earlier, I joined the game pretty late on, so like going through the game and like figuring out like how can we have every single moment of this game be like saturated with like the style, so like you get as much out of the style as you can, and like doing all of the like revisiting like the cutscenes and the where you choose day or night and stuff like that, like the dying animation scenes, were all super fun to work on, and to just like figure out all of these incredible cool concepts from Julia, like how do we get them into the game even more than before.
Okay, so I remember this church thing. We talked about that, but we didn't implement it while I was here. So it's pretty cool seeing that in the cutscene.
First, in an article by Claude Comier, La Baguette Justifiée, about some kind of magic wand, published in March. Second, in the following article, which introduced the upheavals of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth.
And his film
Yes.
is actually moving together with the characters.
Yeah.
Does it work okay, you think?
I think so. Yeah, it creates some kind of like atmospheric, I don't know, ambiance play in a way. It's not just a still image. This is kind of still, but it's not, when it's combined with something moving, it creates some visual play, I think.
Yeah, I really like it. My girlfriend picked it up instantly yesterday. I remember the scene. She said, "Oh, she really liked it. She really fucked with it."
And I really like this.
Yeah, the blood font dripping down.
Yeah. I remember that this was one of the first cutscenes I worked on when I joined. So I was being really crazy. I added that.
How the shot in the background, the film shot, was that where did you get the footage? Like, how did you?
I think it was.
That's from Hannah, from a Polish photographer working together with the historian.
Oh.
Yeah, so we got it. So they actually traveled to the border between Poland and Ukraine. So it's from that area where many of the stories takes place as well. Yeah, so it's a ruin of this,
Oh my God.
this church, and I also really love the way that the leaves are kind of moving, and then we have this colorized overlay, depending on whether you play during day or during night. Yeah.
I remember we talked about doing this whole thing with masking, making them stuck to the building and stuff like that. But I mean, it works just fine doing it like it's been done. And I feel like it's good to kind of realize that you can compromise in a lot of ways when making video games, that it doesn't always have to be the most advanced stuff.
And like in this, it's already such a collage kind of rule, or like kind of language we're doing. So like having the video in the background is also like more collage in a way. So I don't think you kind of react to that at all when you're playing it.
I also think it's, you pay more attention to the actual stuff that he's saying if there's not that much visual input all the time. So, and kind of saving that for the actual gameplay.
Yeah.
And this scene is really fun as well, because it kind of shows how we use these authentic houses. Well, now I'm gonna lose, but I just wanted to show the houses because they're taken from these pictures that were provided by Hannah again, or
I think they were from Julia.
Okay.
The farmhouses.
Yeah. So they're
probably.
So they're historically accurate.
So it depends, of course, for the story, from which year. But most of the things I took from National Archives. So the village houses can be 300 years old, 200 years old, and it's also wooden with little folk details. So it's it can work. So it's not that out of the blue. And also each time I was traveling also on east, in east parts of Poland, each time I was traveling, I was taking photos of the old wooden houses and also graveyards and everything. So some of the things are also from photos made today. But yeah.
Yeah, but I remember it's something that I really appreciated working this way with this kind of material, because it felt very authentic. And it is a game that's set in a time that is very old, so it makes sense that you would like work with material that would be from that time, or at least look like it was from that time.
At least look like. But we have plenty of like old villages which were like also museums, with the where we can show. I don't know how it's called. It's always like called like a village museum, something like that. That you can see how they lived like 500 years ago. So plenty of the photos I could get from National Archives. But yeah, it's always good to have. I'm always doing research first, so I never take like random photos for collages, but I do a proper research, read a lot and try to search for authentic things. But still, if we use collage and we have like still stories from 500 years ago, we can't have. Like we don't have any photos from that time. So the photos we have, it's like from 19th century and the latest like early 20th century of the old houses, which can be like 200 years old. So it's like, searching for stuff. And it's always great to do research first and try to dig in and be in the mood of those times.
Using historical photos and stuff, if like you run into having to use real people who lived back then. So I think I've seen concepts, like earlier concepts without the googly eyes.
Yeah.
So that was something that was added later.
Mm-hmm.
Was that because of like anonymizing the people?
Yeah, that was part of it.
Yeah.
And then it's also a style from one of our previous games, or actually maybe all our games, but the Cosmic Top Secret game also with real people. And at one point, I remember when working on that, and I just like accidentally put those googly eyes on the characters. It was on my dad, actually, my real dad photograph. And it was like, immediately we just died of laughing because it was so funny, and you kind of feel more for the characters when you don't have this kind of photographic or very it can be uncanny. So when I'm looking at the old or the first concepts for the game without the googly eyes, I also feel like what kind of style is that? But yeah, do you remember that, Julia?
Yes.
When we kind of added the eyes
in the process. Yeah, it looks better, and we still anonymize those people, so it's a good thing to do. I think it's also the characteristic of those ice studios, so it's like a merging. It was a good idea to do that, and it looks much like much nicer. I don't know. It's still like a creepy game, but in a fun way. So with those googly eyes, it's like less macabre, more fun, I think.
I actually remember a story. We got these masks, and I brought one home with me and to hang it on my fridge. And my roommate was really, really scared of the mask on the fridge, like each night when they had to get it, or like, they were like just putting stuff away before going to bed. And the mask was like staring from the fridge, and I got complaints about the mask. But as soon as I put eyes behind the mask, it wasn't as scary anymore. It was still a little freaky. Like I don't but I think now it's more lovable.
So you had to put eyes.
I had to put eyes
on the fridge.
On the fridge behind the mask, so that my roomie didn't get scared by the mask.
But I guess just turning back to the whole game, with the eyes and all that stuff, it's also a more ethical thing to do, since there are people who are not, they're not living anymore. They're dead, so it's like, these pictures of people who are deceased and, they have family and stuff like that. If they one day coincidentally played the game and saw their, far out relative, with their full face in the game, I mean, it's a really good way of, protecting some privacy for some people, and also just like it's a deceased person, so I feel like it's the right thing to do in a video game like that. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is
your concept.
Yes. Whoa, and I got a badge. Yo, that's crazy.
I really like when it gets stuck and you play both the night and the day. It like goes back and forth how many times you failed.
Yeah.
That's really.
Ding 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 ding.
Yeah.
No, it goes like. Pring, brr, 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 brr.
Well, I actually never saw it because I never lost. Actually.
Oh no.
I've only heard it from the room.
Rumor has it.
Rumor has it that it does that. But thanks for showing me it, Sandra.
Yeah.
Didn't know you could do that.
You're welcome. It was also a very nice sound effect on the
Yeah, it was
like the bar.
snappy.
Yeah. I like that. That's also something that I've always thought was really well made in this game. I didn't work on it, but you know, the sounds and the music and stuff like that, it has a certain vibe that matches really well with the whole atmosphere and, you know, the environment, the setting, everything just kind of, I don't know, it plays out well.
Yeah.
So,
It's like fun that it's something that's kind of very electronic music, like a little bit trance because it's like just keeps going.
yeah, but it sounds sort of medieval.
It sounds like it's weirdly right, weirdly fits.
Yeah,
really well.
I agree. Yeah.
It's a techno composer, Bjørn Sveen, who made the music, but he made it in like this atmosphere that it really suits the game. And then there has been added for many people that have worked on the sound design as well. So it comes from many people, and you may say that then it's inconsistent, but in a way it kind of fits with the whole concept as well of collage and putting stuff together and being a lot of people working freely with the design as well.
Also because the graphics are so freaky in a way, like the whole, you know, the whole game is kind of like visually very freaky to look at because it's
you're right.
Know, exaggeration everywhere and like this cut out stuff
very
combined
comical.
combined with like cartoony, you know, real life, and then the cartoon stuff is like, and then all the sounds kind of complementing that. And I think it works pretty well, even though it's this clash of everything, really.
Now, I also just want to add a quick thing about the entire narration is a really nice thing because I'm dyslexic and I suck at reading and I don't like reading, but I do like stories. And I would never have read the book because I just never read books. So I felt like I learned a lot about some history stuff that I wouldn't have learned if I didn't play the game. Like, well, as playing it, I was like, oh shit, dude, that's fucked up. Tell me more, Cossack. I'm intrigued. So that was just real nice of having it all like read up as the text was there. It's just always a nice plus.
So this is the Danish story.
I'm Leah, a filmmaker from Denmark. I got this anthology from Dr. Cossack. This collection of outrageous but also beautiful accounts from Eastern Europe about the stubborn vampires.
Maybe Trine, you can talk about working with Leah. Maybe.
Yeah, I could. Because during the development of the game, with all the stories from the Slavic countries, we realized that some of those stories had similar stories from other countries and also from here, from Denmark. So that's been very interesting to try to see, can we actually find like the source material, can we find the same parts and use it in the game design as well. And we did find some weird stuff. Maybe there was a lot of weird stuff happening back in the days in Poland and Ukraine, but certainly also here, and also some of the stories went all the way to Canada. So we have a feeling that there might be stories from all over the world, and we could continue working on the game and adding those stories and new mechanics.
You did the design for this level?
I made the needles. And I think I also made the door, like crevice thing.
Twist hold.
Yeah, these ones. I remember working on those. Okay, I'm glad that I got to play.
Also a challenge to find old needles that are not too thin. Yeah. So we needed to find some that could work, that would be visually identifiable.
Yeah, because we had stakes before. Just hammering in stakes. Before it was we put in the needle asset, I think.
Yeah, but that's the funny one. Is like that actually highlights how similar the stories are, because in like Poland you would put stakes in the door frame, and then in Denmark you would put needles in instead.
Okay, so that's what I'm thinking of. There is actually a level.
There is a level, but the other way around.
Yeah, okay.
And I think this one is like the top of the door frame and it's needles, and then in the Polish one it's in the like bottom, like the
window seal,
the threshold, and in the window seal is the windows.
Frames. Yeah, frames.
I was like, sills?
Put it inside of the glass.
Yeah.
Oh, so this reminds me of the poppy seeds level.
Yeah, and then with the added feature that you have to open the lid as well.
It's lit.
Poppy seeds in Ukraine, grain in Denmark. That's wonderful. We share the same.
Yeah, so this was what you were talking about.
Yeah, like the same
kind of traditional culture. At least when it comes to vampires.
My mom tells me to take care.
And Ogis and same bones.
Yeah.
Intention of the dead.
That was lit.
I knew you were gonna say that. So what can we take from this?
Great project, guys.
No, it was really. I'm really.
Yes. Go buy it on Steam and Apple. And...
Yo, buy it on Steam, buy it on Apple, buy it on Steam again. Send us a friend code to your friends.
Buy it on Play Store.
Take your mom's credit card and buy it on your uncle and sister and cousin's phone.
Yes.
And send in your stories. If you have something in your family or in your like local area that might fit in this.
About undead, vampires, vampires, streakers,
dark gothic
stuff. Thanks for having us. Thanks for letting us be a part of it.
Love you.
Oh,
Michael.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Michael was the real vampire all.
Enjoy your evening, Julia.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice to see you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's good. Whoa.
Oh my God, Sandra!
Wow.
You're the perfect peasant.
Yes.